What's up, YouTube? It's me, the artisanmc, and today I'm going to review for you X-Men 97, Episode 6, Life Death Part 2. Now, this episode is the continuation of the Storm and Forge story from about Episode 4. And I was looking forward to seeing this episode because I knew nothing about the adversary. I didn't even really know who that character was. I thought it was a different character. But seeing this episode fleshed it out a little bit more of what, of what the character is. And I appreciated that. It was a character I didn't know much about. And as much as I do know, I'm always excited to learn something new. So this episode picks up with the X-Men reacting to the news in Genosha. And then quickly switches over to Storm and Forge, and Storm taking care of Forge in his home after being bitten by the adversary who has poisoned him with this self-loathing and pain in a sense, right? Now, in an interesting way, this is somewhat metaphorical and somewhat you don't trust the reality that you're seeing around you, because how the adversary, I guess, powers work is it is your inner parts attacking you. And it was 3/4 of the way through the episode, I finally got a real clear idea who the adversary was. And it pointed to me to Jungian psychology, to where the adversary is your shadow. It's your shadow self. And given Jung's archetypes of your self-conscious or your subconscious or whatnot, part of it is your shadow. And your shadow does not like you. Doesn't. Your shadow is that voice in the back of your head that tells you you can't do something. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have the skill. Your shadow always messes with you for the most part. It's always there. That's that self-doubt. And that's when I finally got what the adversary was. It was a demon who feeds on this. It feeds on this fear. It feeds on this self-doubt about yourself and your abilities and why you do. It feeds on the lies that you tell yourself. And once I understood that, I was like, oh, damn, this is a great character, because it actually exposes a lot about the character it is interacting with. That to beat this thing, they have to beat what's inside of them more so than beating it physically. You have to do the internal work to beat it metaphorically within yourself. It is the outgrowth of your own inside. So that made the character really cool to me once I got that part. Before then, it was just creepy as shit. It was just really off-putting in a sense that, is this reality, or is she seeing things, or what's going on? Like, wow, this is a trip, right? But such is the nature of demons, where they will have you, really questioning your grip on reality. Right. Now, while Storm is there dealing with the adversary and trying to nurse Forge back to a little bit of health, the episode switches over to Shi'ar space in the introduction of Deathbird and the Praetorian Guard of the Shi'ar, and then to Alejandra and Charles Xavier. And you get to see that Charles Xavier, in fact, is alive and well, living in the Shi'ar space with Lilandra. And Lilandra being so happy that he is there with her and nursing him back to health from his gunshot on Earth, she announces that she wants to marry. and that she will marry Xavier and have this union together with them. Well, that doesn't necessarily sit right with some members of the Shi'ar Empire, namely her sister Deathbird. She's not feeling that at all, right? There's another council member that's not really sure either, but we understand that this is something that Lilandra wants, and Charles does love her. He does. He does love Lilandra, but he is in a bit homesick and concerned for the X-Men, his children. He is, concerned about them. Like any good father would be. Yeah, it's all fine and good to be here and, begging your little bird back out, but, what's going on with my kids? I really do care about my children, though, too, So that's what he's dealing with there. And while there, he ends up in the machinations of Deathbird, who wants to wipe his memories as a form of him showing his love and devotion to Lilandra, that he would give up his memories of Earth and his X-Men to be her husband. So that leads into a little bit of discussion between Charles and Lilandra about what this means and what are the pros and cons of doing this, procedure, right? Now, back on Earth, Ford and Storm are still here dealing with the adversary, and Storm is really succumbing to the adversary a bit. That the adversary is really just giving her that good old Sith speak in her ear and really growing that self-doubt and fear in Storm. And at a point, while an adversary is distracted, Forge comes in and uses magic. He uses a magic spell from a book and traps the adversary in a portal. Now, I didn't know Forge knew how to do magic. I know he's like a shaman in his tribe, right? But I don't remember reading a book where he was actually doing magic, because he came out there looking straight like Doctor Strange. But regardless of that, the book was his mother's, and in the book there is a remedy for this cactus that grows in this cave that will help him with this poisonous bite that he has from the adversary. So he convinces Storm to take him with, and they ride off to this cavern to look for this cactus so they can make the aloe and heal Forge and save his life, because at the rate this thing is spreading, he will die before she gets back. So he has to go with her. Now, you cut back to Shi'ar space, and you see that Charles has decided to go through the process. But halfway through the process, he cannot bring himself to say the words that he gives up his X-Men. And when he hesitates, Deathbird does not. She steps right in and calls out her sister for not being a good enough leader and wants to take charge of the Shi'ar Empire herself. Now, in any X-Men fashion, you know what this leads to. This leads to a damn fight. It's going to lead to a fight, because I like Deathbird. Deathbird is kind of cool to me because she is about work. She is about the business. She does not give a damn. She will go in. She will kill anybody. I mean, her name is Deathbird. I mean, come on, man. She's the younger sister too. Like, so she go hard. Like, good night, dude. So I like seeing her in action, thrown into this show and going at her sister Lilandra, and getting to see Gladiator again and see him going at the other members of Deathbird's party who are trying to actually perform a little bit of a coup in a sense. But what happens is that Xavier uses his one great trick and he pulls them all into the astral plane and starts sitting down and teaching them a little bit of something that he learned from being there in the Shi'ar Empire. Now, back in on Earth, Forge and Storm make it to this cavern and they go inside. And Forge tells her that the reason he actually came along is because he knows that Storm has a problem in tight places and that the cactus is down this narrow ass crevasse she has to crawl through to find it because it grows in the dark. Now, while Storm is down this tunnel, the adversary returns. And this is when I really understood what the adversary was, that it was the shadow, because that's where it came from. It came out the shadows. And this is where Storm kind of figures it out too. Because she keys on something that Ford said to her before they came about the small lie or the white lie that this thing may tell you. And Storm, thinking about that, realizes the small lie she told herself. That is the key to her not having her powers. Because she secretly wished them away when she was talking to Jean, or as we know now, Madeline Pryor. And wishing that she could be human at some point. And trying to fight off the adversary, she herself re-engages her powers. And her powers return to her in grand fashion, along with a costume change. Which is cool. It's a classic costume. I like it, right? So at this point, she defeats the adversary and is able to get the cactus and make the aloe and heal Forge of his own self-doubt and that poison that the adversary had put into him. But the mood in the moment is broken up when Forge turns on the TV and Storm gets to see the news from Genosha about the little extinction event that happened there. Now, we cut back to Charles in Shi'ar space, sitting there giving these Shi'ar a lesson on the astral plane, and his lesson is broken up by the image of Gambit. Gambit, like 33 feet tall, a huge hulking mass, and then turns into a skeleton. And Xavier understands what is happening, that Gambit is dead, that something terrible has happened on Earth, and his people, mutants, have been murdered, blanked out, and he is distraught and angry. And when he snaps out of the astral plane and everybody wakes up, he basically calls it off with Lilandra and lets it be known he has to go back to Earth ASAP Rocky because his children are in danger. He got to go see about that. He, love be damned. He got to go take care of some stuff because while Xavier loves Lilandra, he loves the X-Men more. That is his first love. And he is ready to go back and let them know that, Charles Xavier need to come back and lead these damn X-Men because something has just happened that is a mess, and he needs to go back to Earth to clean it up, which is exciting to me. It sounds like a spoiler for the whole episode, but this episode was mostly, it could constitute a filler episode because there was not a lot of action, but it was a lot of personal growth for the characters involved in it, right? So this is why I don't feel necessarily bad that I spoiled anything thought-provoking outside of the fact that these people were these people, Charles and Storm, started the story where they were. Charles in a place of happiness, Storm in a place of kind of depression and fear, and where they get to at the end of this. Storm has her powers back and is happy, but now she is now horrified by what has she's just understood has happened, or she has just learned has happened. Charles went from being happy to a little bit afraid to now determined he has to get back into the fight. He needs to get back to his children to see what the hell is going on. What happened? Now these two characters that are pivotal to the X-Men have a reason to come back to the X-Men urgently. Okay. So that's kind of cool for me. That doesn't seem like a spoiler, even though it's the episode. It's not really a spoiler. It's a story beat that moves these characters along to get them to the next thing that will happen. That will be, to me, a bigger action set piece. It will be the setup for what comes after. Now, the last part of this, which I won't say, reveals who was responsible for sending that Sentinel Godzilla to Genosha. And I liked it. I really did like it. That was like, gotcha. Now, if you want to understand what I'm talking about and you have not watched the episode, I will just hint at it and say that my review for episode 5, I told you distinctly what that event was looking like. You go back and watch it, you'll hear it, and then you'll kind of get it, right? But beyond that, it actually encourages me that certain mutants should be back soon. I'm just saying, it just kind of gives me that feeling, just does. I mean, it just does. So with that, before I say anything more and spoil anything else for you guys, I like this episode. It was a more thought-provoking episode. It was a more episode in a sense. Being excited to see certain things, like seeing Vulcan in the Shi'ar Empire. It was more fun in that sense. There were cameos, yes, but there was growth for these characters. And even though Storm getting her powers back on her own would seem more like the modern version of she don't need no man, she can do it herself. I do like her unlocking her powers again on her own. I do like that. It's kind of like with Spider-Man when he's, down in the dumps in a sense, and he just loses the ability to use his powers because it's about his mental. His mental's not right. He can't do it if his mental's not right. He has to have an understanding of who he is and why he's doing it. And basically they gave that to Storm. She has to understand who she is. She has to confront those inner demons and put them at bay so she can achieve the heights that she should be, to be the goddess that she is. And I like seeing that. I did think it ran a little bit too long because in the time that she was, getting her powers back, I'm like, what about Forge? What about Forge? Yeah, this is all cool. Hey, you need to get back and start mixing some stuff. Like, bro, gonna die while you out there having to fly around, But I like seeing that, and I like seeing the classic costume come back. Storm is that chick. Storm is that chick on the X-Men. She just really is. So that's it. I really enjoyed this episode. I look forward to the next one. I do not feel disappointed because look, this was a nice respite from last episode, because last episode was traumatic. That was traumatic. For anybody that never read the comic books, that was some traumatic stuff that happened last episode. So this one was a nice way to kind of keep that tension a little bit there, but to segue a little bit, like we'll keep it easy on you right now. Keep it easy on you. Not that many people died this episode, so that's it. I like this episode, so I look forward to the one next week. So that's it for me and my review of episode 6 of X-Men 97, Life, Death, Part 2. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. $ artisanmc on Cash App or artisanmc on PayPal. And I will see you all next time. Peace.